The evening wears on. Wind not a factor. And we'd now like to welcome everybody to McMahon Stadium. What a finish.
Amazing finish in the first game. Henry Burris, starting quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders, 373 last week in the loss to the BC Lions for Calgary. Kevin Glenn on pace for 5,000 yards this season. Hasn't happened in Hamilton since Danny McManus did it in 04.
So it's official now. Marcel Belfay's Tiger Cats will host the Eastern semifinal, but he said it didn't matter what happened tonight in Toronto. His team's here to win, and John Hufnagel is taking the same approach, knowing that a win or a loss here doesn't impact that his team will be the host for the Western Final in 3 weeks. But we do have a pretty interesting matchup between these two teams. The last couple of meetings have been one-point games. There's Landon Talley, who is in for Dion Murphy as the return man tonight for the Calgary Stampeders. Stamps looking for a little bit more on their returns. Speaking of returns, Sandro DeAngelis back at McMahon. 23-22 was the score. Ticats outplayed the Stampeders, but Calgary prevailed to dive a win. Here we go in the rematch at McMahon, and Landon Talley all the way up close to the 40-yard line. A 23-yard kick return to set things up for Henry Burris and the highest scoring offense in the CFL.
That they are with Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield. Reynolds not used last week in the loss to the BC Lions. They have to go back to Joffrey Reynolds in that offense to get some balance. Nick Lewis in the receiving corps is having his best season as a Calgary Stampeder, 7,000-yard season, and offensive lineman nominee likely will be Ben Archibald on that left tackle spot.
First down from the 40, and Burris to throw over the middle, and a completion is made. There's Kenyon Rambo, one of 4 receivers in this game, approaching 1,000 yards, and he may be just one catch away now after that 15-yard grab, getting him to 983.
Well, Stevie Baggs on the defensive line for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 11 tackles, 2 sacks in his last 2 games. He's making plays all over the field. There's Markeith Knowlton, the leader in that linebacking core, that solid linebacking core. Jeff Tisdale playing halfback, has 4 interceptions on the season.
Highest scoring offense, stingiest defense. Burris to throw again, and this time a catch is made by Robbie Bryant as Bryant gets close to 1,000 yards. He needed 23 coming into the game.
Well, Nick Lewis has his 1,000 already, and here's the 4 players in this game tonight, and I don't think this has ever happened. The 4 different players, 2 from each team, are this close to 1,000 yards. All four should get that 1,000 yards tonight.
And Bryant now about 13 yards away, close to 10. There's Dave Stallo, awaits his turn. Short yardage team on, and Drew Tate will plunge forward and move the chains for the Stampeders. So many weapons for Henry Burris in this Calgary offense, and they want to make sure they're hitting on all cylinders heading into the postseason.
Well, just 2 wins in their last 6. I think that's more important for Calgary and John Hufnagel than anything, just to try and get some consistency. They know they have the talent. They know they have maybe the best team in the Canadian Football League at 11-5. They just haven't played consistent enough over the last 6 games.
At the 43, a first down. Burris hit as he throws. That one up and incomplete down the sidelines, looking for Bryant. Ball seemed to be up for grabs there, but Bryant still with a shot at it.
Yeah, Bo Smith, the corner playing down that sideline on Robbie Bryant, did a real good job of kind of forcing him out of play. He's basically trying to run him out of room and get Robbie Bryant so close to that white stripe on the sideline as he tried the double move and wasn't fooled. See how he just runs him out of room? I think he was right on that stripe anyway.
Stamps had only 3 points in the second half last week in the loss against BC. Early movement there as Garrett McIntyre jumped. We'll find out if he was drawn offside. Kim Murphy and his crew in charge tonight.
Offside, Hamilton. Number 71. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Garrett McIntyre called on the offside. Last time these two teams played, McIntyre had 3 tackles and a sack.
That first meeting, the longest play from scrimmage for Calgary on offense, only 17 yards. 2nd and 5, 5 receivers out, and they look inside, and the catch is made. And that's Jabari Arthur, a big target, and a first down for Calgary.
That's right in the strength of Jabari Arthur. He only has 9 catches on the season, but I get the feeling every time I ask Henry Burris about Jabari Arthur, he has his big smile. Of course, Burris smiles a lot, but he has his big smile. He says, you know, he's a big, big target, and he can block guys away like you're trying to fight for a rebound in basketball, to use your body to block out the defender. Jabari Arthur does that well.
Good-looking start for Calgary. 21st possession points on the year, and the handoff inside for Reynolds. And Joffrey crashes down to about the 27, and a gain of close to 4.
Yeah, Joffrey Reynolds, forgotten man in the offense a week ago. And it's almost a broken record when you think about how important he has been to this offense, not just this year, but over the past 3 or 4 years. And it seems to me every time that the coaching staff, and Dave Dickinson in this case, John Hufnagel, sort of forget about 21, they usually end up losing the football game.
Matt Kirk has taken a knee and will get attention.
This is a tough one for that kind of thing, Chris. I mean, both coaches want to prepare to win this game and go out and play, get themselves on track going into the playoffs, but the Calgary Stampeders will host the Western Final. Marcel Belfait probably has heard by now that Toronto lost, so that they will host the semi in the East. So nothing changes in the standings. It's that balancing act that these coaches have to deal with now. They don't want to get a player hurt at this point, but they got to play to win.
Not much you can do but play full speed. And
absolutely.
That's what they both intend to do. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have won 3 consecutive games, and that defense has surrendered only 17 points in those 3 wins. Just 3 of the points coming in the first quarter. So the 6-year vet out of Queens heads to the sidelines.
Really has been amazing. 3 points allowed in the last 2 games. 3 points per game against this Hamilton defense. Calgary doing well on this opening drive when you consider how well that defense has played.
So 2nd and 6, and Burris deploying a 6-pack of receivers, and he calls quarterback draw. And Burris slides feet first, short of the first down. He hit the deck about the 23, had to get to the 21.
Quarterback draw was a called design play between Henry Burris. He got it from Dave Dickinson on the bench, and Otis Floyd is the guy. You see him spying Henry Burris in this case. He knew exactly what the play was going to be, like he was in the playbook, but he got cut off. It looked like one of the offensive linemen went down. Otis Floyd had the right idea. Dave Dickinson called quarterback draw there.
So a good first possession drive comes up short, and Rob Maber will be called upon. The kid who scored the winning field goal at Ivor Wynn back in July. And right down the middle with that 30-yard attempt as Calgary strikes first at McMahon. Wendy's CFL on TSN. Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. Rona, doing it right. Well, Kevin Glenn and the Hamilton Ticats have been doing it right on their opening possessions this year. 5 touchdowns and 40 points on their opening drives this season. That's tops in the league. And right to work to Marquay McDaniel, another one of those receivers trying to close in on 1,000 yards. He gets 7 on his first touch.
23 games for Kevin Glenn as the starting quarterback in Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's won 13 of them, 13-10 coming into this one as the starter in Hamilton. and has them on a roll. One change. No Arlen Bruce, the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League. Reggie Fish will play for him in the slot back spot, and Marwin Hage likely their outstanding lineman nominee.
Our starting lineup is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona doing it right. Out of the gun on 2nd and 3, and over the middle, it's a completion. There's the man replacing Arlen Bruce, Reggie Fish, with a first down grab.
Defensively, the Calgary Stampeders, the red-hot Charleston Hughes and Tom Johnson, one of the top interior defensive linemen in the CFL. A couple of choices for nominees for defense for the Calgary Stampeders, but most saying Juwan Simpson will get the nod. And in the secondary, we talked a lot about Brandon Browner, leads the league in leads his team with 4 interceptions along with Brandon Smith.
First down, DeAndre Cobb with his first carry, and he's up over the 50 to the 52-yard line. So 4 for Cobb, who's over 1,000 and 4th in the league in rushing this season.
He'll get it to know Juwan Simpson a bunch in this game. Juwan Simpson with 65 tackles, and it's going to be Simpson who will step up into the hole and stop DeAndre Cobb here as they make contact along with Charleston Hughes helping out.
So it's 2nd and 6, Tiger Cats. Here comes the rush. Clinton stands in, delivers, and Dave Stella has a first down catch in front of Brandon Smith.
Boy, you could tell how quickly Kevin Glenn released that football, that he is prepared for a lot of blitz looks and a lot of man from this Calgary Stampeder defense, because he knows Juwan Simpson's coming on that blitz. So he quick step, 3-step drop, and got the ball away before that blitz could get home.
Kevin Glenn needing 271 yards coming into tonight for 5,000 on the year, and he's short of a couple of Ticat records. Cobb, big hole into the secondary, and DeAndre Cobb inside the Calgary 30-yard line.
Well, what a cut right at the point of attack for DeAndre Cobb to bounce this one outside, and he reads the play of defensive end Charleston Hughes. Charleston Hughes going to crash down. When he sees that crash, there's one quick move and then a bounce to the outside, and DeAndre Cobb is gone for a big run.
21 yards for Cobb. That's his 8th carry for over 20 on the season. Stamps look good on their first possession, and the Tiger Cats with a good response. Little fake, and Cobb can't bring it in as they use Thigpen and Cobb in the backfield and try to spring DeAndre Cobb into the flat.
Maybe just a little anxious to turn the corner, get that football, turn the corner, and head upfield. I thought he followed it in with his eyes, and he did. Maybe just a little bit low for DeAndre Cobb, but puts him in 2nd and long for the first time in this drive.
Been a good receiver this year with 34 catches out of the backfield. Marcus Thigpen remains in 2nd and 10. Glenn, and look out, Dwight Anderson with the interception. Foot race, and look at him, pull away. Kevin Glenn can't catch him, and Dwight Anderson has his 2nd touchdown of the year. 85 yards, Anderson for a Stampeder defensive touchdown. Their 7th of the season.
And his 4th interception ties him for his team lead with Brandon Browner and Brandon Smith, and he jumps it. Just 3-man pressure, and Kevin Glenn has to deal with all kinds of coverage behind it. Dwight Anderson steps in front of that curl, reads the mail, and is gone.
So much for a promising Hamilton Tiger Cat opening possession. Touchdown earlier this year. Labor Day against the Edmonton Eskimos for Anderson. And another big return here. Maver adds the extra point. And it's a 10-point Calgary lead. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Nissan. Shift the way you move. And an early momentum shift here.
Calgary Stampeders the last few games have matched their corners on different receivers depending on who they play, and I think the Calgary defense fooled Kevin Glenn on that last one. He thought he was going to see man and didn't.
There's Thigpen on the return. He had a return for a touchdown back in July against Calgary. Robert McCune with the tackle. Hamilton back to offense when we come back. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by TELUS, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. So just past the 9-minute mark, a field goal for Calgary, and then that Dwight Anderson touchdown return. And it's a 10-point hole for Kevin Glenn. Markway McDaniel's got the catch. Dwight Anderson there again and pushes him back. Check that mark with Thigpen with the grab.
Let's go back to that interception by Dwight Anderson, and I'll show you what I mean about Kevin Glenn being confused. Dwight Anderson is normally a corner. He usually lines up out here. Now, because he's lined up inside like that, I'm sure Kevin Glenn thought it was man-to-man, but Dwight Anderson will drop his man. There's a little bit of a problem at the rub section right here between DeAndre Cobb and Chris Bauman. That gives him time to jump that throw from Kevin Glenn, and he's gone. That rub, you've got to be clean on that, and Chris Bauman couldn't get inside. Watch how he stumbles here. He stumbles a second, can't get inside. Dwight Anderson's got it.
Short yardage team in for the Ticats. But Porter in trouble with that snap. And who comes up with it? They're rolling. The Porter was down, but no surge. He just had to preserve the football, and it'll be 3rd and 2, and the punt team will have to come out.
Yeah, even if he falls forward, they probably gamble if he doesn't get it, but because he mishandled the snap, Quentin Porter now lost 1.5 yards, and Marcel Belfait is going to have to punt the football. I mean, you could see he just never had the handle. He had to dig for it at the bottom of the pile, loses a couple of yards, and they'll have to kick it away.
Looked like Devon Claybrooks almost got his mitts on the ball. Wilbur's punt. And across the 30-yard line for Landon Talley. Back at McMahon and wearing her Sorels on the sidelines, Sarah Orleski.
It's cold down here, Chris. Chris, with the Argos loss tonight, the Ticats have secured a home playoff date, but don't expect that to change Marcel Belfait's game plan. He said regardless of the outcome of that earlier game, he was going to be playing Kevin Glenn and his starters throughout this game. Now, we might see a slightly different approach from the Stampeders, who have secured first in the West. If the score allows, don't be surprised if we see backup quarterback Drew Tate sometime in the second half.
Stamps right now with a 10-point lead and a play fake to Reynolds, and that pass over the middle has Nick Lewis spinning across the 45-yard line for a Stampeder first down. 82 catches on the year for number 82.
Well, he's having his best season without question, and you think back to that 05 season, he had 1,379 yards. He won't get there as far as yardage goes. But remember, he missed one game against the BC Lions, a game Calgary Stampeders lost.
14 on that grab. 1st and 10. And Reynolds met before he got back to the line of scrimmage. Dropped for a loss. Devontae Bolden and Marquise Knowlton on the scene immediately.
Sarah was talking about the philosophies by these coaches and how they're going to manage the quarterback position in games that don't change anything in the standings. And we will probably see Drew Tate, I would guess, a half of this game, probably second half of this game. And we'll see what happens with Kevin Glenn on the other side. Certainly he wants to get things going before he comes out after that interception for a touchdown.
2nd and 11. And Burris has time, long out, and that ball incomplete. Looking for R.J. Franklin.
I asked John Hufnagel about that with Henry Burris, and he said you go back to 2008, Grey Cup championship year for the Stampeders, and they had a similar situation at the end of that season. He said in that year I played Henry Burris the first half of a game that didn't change anything in the standings, and then went to Barrick Neely. He wants to see Drew Tate play as well in this one tonight.
Okay, the cart.
Dale's pressure, and it's blocked by Yannick Carter. And Markeith Knowlton comes down with the football. So a punt block for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
What a play by Yannick Carter. He's going to line up on the outside, but watch him shoot through. No one picks him up. He basically has an open lane to get right to the punter, Burke Dales, and times his jump perfectly to not make any contact. And the Ticats, their first big play of the football game.
Those had a punt block at Labor Day for a touchdown by Markeith Knowlton. Here's Glenn looking for Matt Carter in the end zone. And that went off the helmet to Milt Collins. There is a flag on the play.
Yeah, and that flag came out as the official was following Matt Carter down the sideline with Milt Collins.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Calgary, number 33, a 10-yard penalty, first down.
That was Dwight Anderson, and he was inside, not on that corner spot. Milton Collins had moved out to the corner to play against Matt Carter in the matchup. There's Collins, there's Carter. He was fine. The guy who gets the penalty is inside, and that's Dwight Anderson. And there's the contact, Dwight Anderson.
So it sets up the Ticats, a first down at the Calgary 19-yard line. And they pitch to Cobb. He cuts it back. More penalty flags, and now they're going to stop play as there was movement prematurely on that Hamilton offensive line.
Yeah, Chris Jones likes to move around their defensive line at times, and they'll put him off the line of scrimmage a little bit.
Procedure. Hamilton, number 60. 5-yard penalty remains, first down.
Jason Jimenez, the right tackle.
It catches Hamilton this time, but Chris Jones likes to sometimes move those defensive front 7 guys around a little bit and have them hit it on the run. The Hamilton Tiger Cats there tried to quick count it, get the ball on the quick pitch to DeAndre Cobb, and a little movement by Jason Jimenez caused some problems. They'll go back to it, though.
First and 15, and now 6 receivers out for Glenn. Short drop underneath, and off the fingertips of the intended target, Marcus Thigpen.
That was pretty well covered across the field there. That was Robert McCune that's really tracking him, and he's covering Marcus Thigpen all the way across. I don't think Kevin Glenn even wanted to throw this ball, but he ran out of options. That pocket started to collapse a little bit.
Calgary, the stingiest team in terms of surrendering yardage this year. Second and 15, and Glenn's pass is caught. More markers as Reggie Fish has his second catch and tossed down by Anderson.
Now this is a flag away from the ball again, and Hamilton are indicating that it's against Calgary again.
Well, it's a physical secondary. And it looks like Brandon Smith is the culprit this time.
Major foul, Calgary. Face mask, half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
Yeah, Brandon Smith is the guy, and we've got a good look at it for you. It's gets Dave Stala. He's going to try and cut back inside and then back to the out. And there's the grab of the face mask by Brandon Smith. This Calgary secondary likes to play physical. They will try and get away with little tugs, little pushes. Often they do, but they haven't in the last 2 plays.
Next touchdown pass for Kevin Glenn will be a Hamilton Ticat record. Does it come here as he looks for McDaniel? Incomplete. Keon Raymond stuck with him.
He stuck with him, and Keon Raymond also didn't put his hands up prior to the ball arriving. He was pretty good on the timing, and what he has to do here, because his back is to the play, so what he has to do is read the eyes of Marquay McDaniel and realize when he puts his hands up, when his eyes get big, that's when he has to react to the ball, because he puts his hands up a split second sooner, and he gets a screening call there.
Second and goal from the 7. Glenn looks for the long out. He's got it. Touchdown. A Hamilton Tiger Cat record. Glenn to Stala. And it's touchdown number 30 on the year for Kevin Glenn. And I think Dave Stala wants to hit YouTube again.
The somersault down the hill dance. 30 touchdown passes for Kevin Glenn. And this one, a long one to get it right outside the numbers. Poor angle by Dwight Anderson, who broke on the outside and was upset with one of his teammates.
5th touchdown catch of the year for Stala. There's DeAngelis with the extra point. And in this final minute of the opening quarter, Ticats get on the board.
Oh boy, I tell you, this is Kevin Glenn recognizing that the Calgary Stampeders have a bust. Here's Dwight Anderson inside. He's playing right here in this matchup. Look at Dave Stala. No one playing on the corner for the Calgary Stampeders. Stala's wide open. He just has to get the football. Now Dwight Anderson tries to react. He comes outside, but no one had picked up Dave Stala. Kevin Glenn recognizes it for his Hamilton record-breaking touchdown throw. Now this is the somersault.
Hey, yeah, baby. Hi, sweetie, that was for you.
Great year for Dave Stala.
Yeah, yeah, let's get it.
Well, it's the best production from Dave Stala in the last 5 years. He's an 8-year veteran of the CFL, but due to injuries and just being nicked and not being able to get healthy, he's had a rough 5 years, but he broke out this year.
Only Andy Fantuz with more receiving yards among Canadian pass receivers. Here's Landon Talley. Up over the 30. Ray Marius. And a host of Ticats there. Jordan Matichuk as well.
Well, we talked about Kevin Glenn and how he's attacking some Hamilton Tiger Cat passing records. There's his 30 touchdowns. Danny McManus in 2004. In that year, McManus also had 5,000 yards passing. Kevin Glenn will get there if he stays healthy the next 2 games.
Now 2 completions from the Ticat completion record. And again, Danny McManus holds that. So a 3-point game. Burris back to work and into the hands of Romney Bryant. And Bryant cut down at the 41. So a gain of 4.
Well, when this conversation begins with outstanding player candidates coming out of the East Division, you know one name that will be there for sure. That's Anthony Calvillo, maybe Corey Boyd, the Toronto Argonauts, and there's the other guy right there. And then think of all the years over the last 2 or 3. This is 1 year that Kevin Glenn is a serious contender to come out of the East in that category.
Came out of the East in 2007. And on pace for an even better season. 2nd and 6, and the ball not caught. Nick Lewis can't bring it in, and it's 2 and out again for Calgary on the final play of the opening quarter. Stampeders with a 3-point lead. Our first quarter numbers are brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
You know, numbers pretty close for both teams in the 2 big plays. The block punt by the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the interception for a touchdown by the Calgary Stampeders. That was the scoring really in the first quarter.
2 highly ranked defenses, Chris Jones and Greg Marshall in charge of those. So it's going to be a tough evening for Kevin Glenn and Henry Burris, no matter how long they're in.
Yeah, and we've seen, though, a couple of things for the Calgary Stampeders defensively where they don't have a corner outside. They got caught in some movement there, some illegal contact calls in this first quarter. This Calgary defense, as dominant as they've been all year long, have given up some points over the last few games.
Okay, I'm going to live dangerously, and I'm going to take heat from many parts of the country, but this is a potential Grey Cup preview, isn't it? I want to drag you into this with me. Flag down as Thigpen mishandled, and Terrell Simpson's on the football. There were flags before that ball even arrived. So let's find out.
Well, unless that's no yards.
I think the flag came down even before a potential no yards.
Unless that's no yards, it's likely against Hamilton and an illegal block, which would mean Calgary gets the ball.
Holding. Hamilton, number 44. That penalty is declined. First down.
So a turnover by Thigpen and a holding call against Ray Marios.
Interesting to see why Marcus Thigpen mishandled that. I think he took a peek at the hole in front of him. And Jawan Simpson, who covers his kick, he's got 16 special teams tackles from the middle. This is the starting middle linebacker for the Calgary Stampeders. Got 16 special teams tackles, and now a big fumble recovery on the teams.
Third fumble recovery of the year for him. The fake to Reynolds, and the pass is caught by Rambo down at the 6-yard line.
Jeff Tisdale is going to turn to his teammates and say, you got to give me a ball call. Because Jeff Tisdale's covering Rambo in this play, and he is right in his hip pocket. When Burrs guns it in there, Tisdale doesn't even know the ball's gone by his ear. See, he turns too late, and he's looking now, where's the ball? He didn't get the ball call in time. It's right over his shoulder and into the hands of Rambo.
18 for Rambo, over 1,000 yards. For the second time in his career. First and goal. Joffrey Reynolds. Not much. Dropped it to 5. Garrett McIntyre in that pileup. And a late flag comes down again.
Have offsetting fouls. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Hamilton, number 45. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary. Offsetting fouls, second down.
Otis Floyd was in a bit of a Donnybrook there with Rob Lazio, the center. And you can see just at the top of your screen, a couple rights, couple lefts going to the chin. And those are, call those offsetting.
They'll call it second and goal from the 5. First into the second read and dropped. Garrett McIntyre with the sack. That's number 9 on the year for McIntyre.
Late flag in the corner of the end zone, Chris. Yeah, and it was after the rub. Henry Burris, he wanted to look to the left side of the formation, the short side of the field. And he was trying to get a little bit of a rub there to get Romby Bryant open.
Jamal Johnson heated up about the call.
The guy who got the sack, Garrett McIntyre, wants to know exactly what this penalty is because he does a nice job working inside on Stanley Bryant.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Hamilton, number 28. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
And it was Jamal Johnson.
Yeah, he was part of that short side of the field where they were trying to rub, and he tried to jam his way through it. Flag came out way, way late.
So it's first and goal. Just outside the 2. Bunched formation to this near side. That's the side Reynolds takes. Touchdown. Oh, wait. No call. And the ball popped loose. And let's see when play was whistled down.
Boy, he looked like he was right at that plane.
Yeah, I'd like to see another look on that. It looked like he broke the plane, but then the Football came out, and where are they going to spot it?
They're putting it back on the 3.
Yep.
Let's take a look, because he looked like he was real close to that goal line. In fact, well,
No, he
you're right.
came up inches short.
I'm wondering.
Then the ball seemed to pop
That's what I was
out
going
on
to say.
contact, and
Was it out on contact or out after he was down by contact? Because that's a difference of 2 yards.
challenge flag
Yeah.
comes out from John Hufnagel.
Yeah, I think they're going to take a look at it.
At least he wants to get back down to the 1 yard line.
But on the goal line, that 2 yards is like 2 miles. And I think John Hufnagel wants to see if Joffrey Reynolds wasn't down by contact here.
Yeah.
He's not challenging whether or not he scored. He wants to see where that ball is placed and would like those 2 yards back. And he may win this one, because it looked initially like the ball came out after Reynolds had been down. That
Yep.
He's down there. It looked like he still had it. Then it kicked around a little bit. Then it squirts out of there and bounces back those 2 yards.
Calgary is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble.
And you're right, it's a different play, 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 3.
While they're doing this, let's show you that holding call by Jamal Johnson, the linebacker, who's right there. He's lined at the wide out spot on Rob Cote, the fullback who's come out. Now he jams right there to try and avoid the rub, and then hangs on just for a step too long. That was the penalty that put it down on the goal line. Joffrey Reynolds gets pushed back, and now we've got the challenge. But it looked to me on the angles we showed you that Joffrey Reynolds is down by contact there. His knee was on the ground.
After review, Calgary's challenge has been upheld. Player was down with contact inside the 1. The ball will be placed at the 1 yard line. It will be 2nd down.
Fumbles used to be an issue for Joffrey Reynolds. He has not lost a fumble this year. And a good challenge by John Hufnagel means it'll be placed at the 1, 2nd and goal.
Yeah, it's a good challenge. Like I mentioned, that 2 yards is, it feels like a long way when you're down on the goal line. And I thought that left knee was down, and it was, and they've made the right call here.
Tate is in, slides off the right side. And does he get in? Otis Floyd's got him wrapped, and the former Stamp drills him back. Tate lost a helmet, and looks like he's losing his cool too as things heat up in the trenches.
Defensive line for Hamilton stood their men up. They got leverage and got lower than the O-line, so that allowed Otis Floyd to be able to step in there. Real good surge from the Hamilton defensive line, and this is all about who gets lowest. And because Drew Tate got turned sideways by Otis Floyd, he could never get that ball across to cross the plane. This might give you even better look.
Helmet might have got there, but not the football, and
Nope.
the official right on the spot. James Patterson, the umpire, right on the goal line. A couple of late changes for the Ticats on defense here.
And it'll go back to the 1 yard line, even if Drew Tate got a few more inches in there. And you can see the ball was back a little bit. Stevie Baggs grabs at the football. He's had a few fumble recoveries, in fact, a couple for touchdowns. He's trying to pull it out.
Officials came to the sidelines, and not sure why the delay, but Kim Murphy and his crew ready to go now as he whistles play in, and it's going to be 3rd and 1.
And who wants it more?
Ticats looking for a goal line stand, take the head, and this time he's in, a Calgary touchdown.
And this time Drew Tate doesn't take a step laterally, and off his guard or tackle. This time, he just takes the ball and goes straight ahead.
Well, we've still got some jawing going on down here as tempers flare. Drew Tate celebrates his 5th touchdown of the year.
For that first time, he went a bit to his right laterally. This time, he takes the snap and follows Rob Lazio, goes right in behind him, and he is well across that line.
Well, it looked like as the Stamps started to celebrate, there was a potential for a fight to break out. Things are heating up here, and the Stamps regain their 10-point lead. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN, brought to you by TELUS, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League.
Drew Tate did not hesitate on the touchdown to follow the veteran Rob Lazio, 13-year veteran, and boy, did he fire off and get low on that one.
Ball bouncing, and this time it is McDaniel. And that way McDaniel bounces forward across the 30 to the 32.
Remember, I mentioned all about leverage in the offensive or defensive line and who gets lower. Well, there's Rob Lazio right there, the center. Watch how he gets low. The Ticats are going to bring in offensive lineman Brian Ramsey to help out big men, get a big body inside. He gets a little high and loses his leverage, and that's when big Rob Lazio just pushes him through, and Drew Tate follows his center in for the touchdown. And boy, every Calgary Stampeder congratulated Rob Lazio on the bench when he came over there.
Here's Dave Stala taking that pass out of the backfield, and Stala up to the 38-yard line. Touchdown catch of the game and 5 yards on that grab.
And the Calgary Stampeders in their defense have been as dominant as they've been all year. They've now sort of lost that points allowed title that they held for pretty much the entire season. Hamilton took that recently. Fewest points allowed by Hamilton by any defense in the CFL, and Chris Jones is starting to change things up, get matchups in his secondary. Got caught in that first quarter one time.
Double tight end formation, 2nd and 5. Protection, and the crosser is snuffed right out as Maurice Mann has his first catch. That's the 8th completion of the game for Kevin Glenn. They're going to have to kick, but Glenn is now the all-time completion leader for a single season in Hamilton Ticat history.
Danny McManus in 99, Tom Clements 82.
So he's ticked a couple of record boxes here tonight. Tally, a stutter step, and finally dropped at the 46, 15 yards on the return. Production John Hufnagel was looking for. Back to McMahon and back to the sidelines, and Sir Orleski.
Chris, the Stamps are 2-4 in their last 6 games, and in each of those 4 losses, we saw little of running back Joffrey Reynolds. In fact, he had fewer than 10 carries in each of those 4 losses, including 4 carries for 8 yards last week against BC. Henry Burris said they know how frustrated Joffrey was after last week, and it's been verbalized by John Hufnagel and Dave Dickinson that they need to establish the line early and get Joffrey involved. It doesn't matter what success they have through the air. They know the bread and butter of this offense is on the ground.
And so far tonight, 4 carries, 5 yards for Reynolds. There's a catch for Kenyon Rambo.
And it's about opportunities too, and in those 2 wins over the last 6 games, Dave Dickinson was calling an average of 13.5 running plays to Joffrey Reynolds or John Cornish, and in the 4 losses in those 6 games, that number dropped to just over 6 carries per game. So he has to have the opportunity.
Last week he was 4th among Calgary rushers, and here he is on 2nd and short, and the second surge by Reynolds, second effort, gets the first down. But Burris, Cornish, Andrew Tate all had more rushing yards than Joffrey Reynolds last week against BC.
Well, combined, he and Cornish had just 9 for 50. 9 carries from the backfield. And I know it's a passing league, and people talk about that, but you know, it's a mentality. Running the football becomes a mentality. You can really dominate the line if you can, as Sarah mentioned, attack the line of scrimmage, dominate the line of scrimmage, get your running back involved. Now, boy, the whole playbook opens up for you because you use play action, you use bootleg, everything else comes together.
Ball across midfield at the Hamilton 53, first down, and here's Reynolds, and boy, they've got the wall up tonight, don't they? Toss back down. Jamal Johnson, the tackle, 3rd in the league in tackles, coming in with 85.
Take a look at the last 6 games for Joffrey Reynolds. 52, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, but see that 5-yard average.
So beyond the big game against Saskatchewan, yards hard to come by. Now 6 carries, 8 yards here in the first half. Second and 10, and Burris delivers. Nick Lewis the catch, and he's able to move forward to get the first down at the Hamilton 40-yard line.
Nick Lewis moved the chains, Calgary Stampeders, and a sure tackle by Hamilton because Lewis has made people miss like this more than not. Go back to that Joffrey Reynolds shot just one more time. You know, Joffrey Reynolds, when you break up his numbers in those losses and wins over the last 6 games, boy, it's amazing how different they are.
First and 10. Here comes Dylan Barker. Safety blitz. And Burris got away. Throws the long out. And it's incomplete, but number 1 does a good job to avoid the sack.
This is what will jump off the page for you. Last 4 games, they lost 2, they won 2. Look at the difference in yardage and carries, opportunities for Joffrey Reynolds in the losses and the wins. Night and day.
Second and 10. Reynolds in behind Burris. Now he releases. Burris shakes off the initial pressure. Nick Lewis, first down. Once again, Nick Lewis moves the chains.
Yeah, and that's back-to-back plays that Henry Burris has avoided the rush. First it was Dylan Barker on a blitz. This time it's going to be Stevie Baggs. They're only going to rush 3, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but again, Burris has to work around it. He has to buy some time, get outside of that pocket. Then he finds Nick Lewis, and without even looking at Nick Lewis, a no-look throw to the outside to get it to him. Well, you know you're on top of your game as a quarterback when you don't have to look at the receiver when you throw it to him.
Drive continues. Fake to Reynolds. Lewis can't make the acrobatic catch.
Well, and he kept that one alive just long enough that Jerome Dennis had a chance at it. Ball thrown high. He has to go up there and get it with the one hand. Now he keeps it alive. Jerome Dennis is closing, and he almost had a chance.
You know, it's a chicken and egg debate here in Calgary. Who's the MOP? Is it the quarterback who gets the receiver the football, or the receiver who's made so many clutch catches this year and seems to be the pulse of the team? That pass for Franklin incomplete.
And that's the first one that is off for really back-to-back plays here for Henry Burris. He's looked pretty good in the first quarter, and that no-look pass just sick, but comes back with 2 throws that he wants back. That high one to Nick Lewis, and he had R.J. Franklin over the middle and just missed him there.
And you know, 87 anxious to atone for his drop last week in the late stages of the loss against BC. Maver comes on. He's hit from 30, and now surveys a 33-yard attempt. And Rob Maver drills that as the Stamps increase their lead. Well, uncover the world's largest and most vicious predators in our waters. I don't think that came out of the waters, but River Monsters premieres Tuesday at 10 o'clock Eastern and Pacific on Discovery Channel.
What do you think? How long does it take to get that outfit on?
It's a lot of tarring and feathering.
There's some tarring and feathering. A little bit of makeup.
Hope you have a great Halloween weekend. 13-point Calgary lead. Marcus Thigpen from his 14. And he is taken down quickly. Great downfield cover.
You know that
Brandon Isaac.
That last drive for Calgary, Chris, turns into a field goal, but there was a play that let's go back and show you. Watch Henry Burris here to Nick Lewis to move the chains. Look, he's not looking at Lewis. Doesn't even look. He's looking in this direction, and he goes ahead and throws it out there. I mean, you have to be in complete command of your game to have the accuracy on that throw, not look at it. Now, he went back the next two and missed his target, but that was pretty.
Matt Carter injured on the kickoff for the Tiger Cats. You're right, that was very Steve Nash.
Oh, man.
Had a chat with him yesterday about the voting dilemma, and he admits it is. Is it Burris or is it Lewis? And here in Calgary, Henry's been touting the virtues of Nick, and Nick Lewis has been saying, hey, my quarterback deserves the nod.
Well, Henry Burris should get a 5,000-yard season. Last time they did that was 08. Henry Burris, 5,094. Of course, Calgary Stampeders won the Grey Cup that year. Now, I look at Nick Lewis's numbers. 1,151 is not his best year. He did miss one game. He's having his best season, no question, but that's not his best years numbers-wise in yardage. And he's got 9 touchdowns. Romby Bryan has 11.
I think it's more than the numbers, though. I think
totally. That's why he's being considered, Chris, is that it is so much more than the numbers. It's the leadership he provides, but
and the worst game for the Calgary Stampeders this year was when he wasn't in the lineup. He just seems to set a tone, and DeAndre Cobb is on this run. Still going. Daylight for Cobb, and finally wrestled down inside the Stampeder 45-yard line.
Calgary Stampeders going to run a stunt here, and they're going to move Devon Claybrooks from one gap to another. And what a play call by Marcel Belfait to hit it. There's Devon Claybrooks. He starts there, but he ends up going in the opposite gap on the other side. Little bit of a twist stunt between he and Tom Johnson. And if you catch a defensive line in a twist right when you run the ball there, big things can happen.
44-yard run. He has 69 in the game on only 3 carries. Time, and that pass complete. McDaniel lunging to the 39-yard line. So about 5 for Marquay McDaniel.
When you look at that score, that's how important this drive is for Hamilton. Try and come back and answer. Good start by DeAndre Cobb, and Marcel Belfait has to be congratulated in a lot of ways, and will be, in my estimation, a consideration for Coach of the Year in the CFL, because partially one of the things he did was decide to be patient with DeAndre Cobb.
From a 1-4 start to 8 and 2 in the last 10, second down. The receiver fell on the play, but looked like recovered to make the catch. Maurice Mann, and that should be a first down for Hamilton. They're giving the 3-minute warning here at McMahon. Ticats with the football. Tonight, Scotiabank Show Your Colors salutes the Bradley family, who sit right behind the visiting bench. We're going to get Nora Lee in trouble tonight because the folks in Yorkton, where she comes from, think she still cheers for Saskatchewan. Not the case.
Looks like a Calgary jersey to me.
3rd and a yard. Porter is in, and off the left side. Porter will move the chains. Remember, he came in earlier on a short yardage play and fumbled the football. But this time the chains are moved on third down.
I mentioned Marcel Belfay as a candidate this year. I believe he will be for Coach of the Year. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will host a playoff game again. And DeAndre Cobb got off to such a slow start. Most people wanted Coach to make a change at that position, try and find another running back, and he came on strong second half of the season.
Has he ever? First down, here comes the rush. Glenn wants to go deep. Chris Bauman in a battle incomplete up against Milt Collins. Bauman with a breakout game last week when Arlen Bruce was sidelined with the tender hamstring. 5 catches, 116, a pair of touchdowns, nearly had a third in that game.
Well, and that was a personal best for him. I mean, I'm talking career personal best for Chris Bauman from Regina, who's going to just run the straight goal route here, and also his first 100-yard game of his career. Couldn't fight off Milt Collins there.
2nd and 10, 6 receivers out. Glenn on a roll. Looks downfield, wants man, and man got jolted out by Brandon Browner. Didn't look like that ball was catchable anyway.
I think that's the ruling, because there's no question that Brandon Browner jammed him right out of bounds. I mean, he just 2 hands to the chest and pushes him out. Stalla on the out. They're going to drop him there. There's a grab by Browner. He hangs on, no call there. Little surprising on that, and then just yanks him out of bounds, and then the ball goes over his head. Now, the ref immediately turned around and said that ball was out of bounds, thrown out of bounds, so it was not catchable.
Well, Sandro's back at McMahon, and it's been an up and down year. Looks at a 40-yarder and hears it from the fans, but doesn't flinch. Nails it. 5-time CFL All-Star as a Calgary Stampeder, and Sandro cuts the lead to 10 points with 2:08 to go. And then it's GMC Sierra live at the half. Check in with the boys, get a chance to weigh in on that wild finish in Toronto, what they've seen in the first half of this matchup between Hamilton and Calgary.
I don't think that this game is on the NFL Network. Some have been this year, and I think we have one more that will be on the NFL Network this year. But if everyone in the States saw how that first game ended, wow, they'd be bringing the Canadian Football League all the different rules. Watch Browner get away with his hold. This is something that he is just a master at. I know G. Roy Simon in Vancouver's probably watching this after last week's game saying, he did that to me all game long. But the bottom line is Browner gets away with it. No flag there. He's subtle with it. He'll push the shoulder a little bit, grab a little jersey, grab a little cloth, usually lets go of it in time. And again, no penalty flag there on Brandon Browner. And as a defensive back, if there's no penalty flag on the ground, then there's no interference. I mean, if you can get away with the grab.
Boy, I hope we don't have to go to the bullpen. DeAngelis sends it downfield, and John Cornish, first touch of the night. Pretty good one. Up across the 40 to the 42-yard line. Doesn't look like John Hufnagel's deployed that every third series for John Cornish so far tonight, but now he looks like he's ready to stay in on offense.
Yeah, that rotation started about week 4, where he would come every second series. He would get a chance to play. Hasn't had a 100-yard game in his more limited opportunities than Joffrey Reynolds, but does have the real nice average at 7.8 yards and that breakaway ability. His closest game to 100 this year was back in September against Edmonton. He had about 76 there.
10th in the league, playing about a third of a game. 10th in the league rushing, a pump one way and deep the other, looking for Robbie Bryant. He's got it. Got behind Ryan Hines. It's a touchdown. Let's wait and find out what that flag's about. as Bryant wins the battle. And he goes over 1,000 like teammate Kenyon Rambo.
Over 1,000 in style and has to fight across the face.
Pass interference. Hamilton, number 34. The penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Yeah, the rookie corner, Ryan Hines, gets the call. And the 68-yard touchdown pass stands for Robbie Bryant. And by a yard, that's his biggest play of the season.
He fights across the face of Ryan Hines here to get to this football. Robbie Bryant, first of all, Burris looks one side, pump fakes, and then guns it the other way. Tremendous arm strength to get it there, but Bryant won the end of the route. The top of the route there where he cut across the face of Ryan Hines was the key.
35th touchdown pass of the year for Henry Burris. Closing in on his career high 2 years ago. He had 39.
Straight one-on-one matchup. Robbie Bryant is going to line up at his normal wide receiver position, and he's working on Ryan Hines here. Watch how he goes down the field. And you guys can freeze it for me right at the top of this route, right about now. The ball's going to come into the air inside, and Robbie Bryant has to fight through that and go across the face of Ryan Hines. Here he cuts through, gets better body position, and then protects the football. Ryan Hines also was called on interference. I didn't see any interference there. But either way, just tremendous play at the receiver position, because sometimes the ball isn't perfect. Sometimes you have to fight back to it. And Robbie Bryant across the face of Ryan Hines, if he stays strong there and doesn't allow him to cut across his body, there's no play.
So Rambo and Bryant over 1,000. And it's a 17-point lead. Marcus Thigpen brings it back to the 35-yard line. And a minute 45 for the Ticats to try and close the gap here in this first half.
You heard Sarah earlier talk about the coaches' philosophies with regards to their quarterbacks in a game like this. And be surprised if I don't see Kevin Glenn in the second half. Marcel Belfay, I think, would like to get more of a positive feeling from his offense, more specifically his passing game. I think DeAndre Cobb looks pretty good in this first half, but see his passing game pick it up a little bit. Just 62 yards for Kevin Glenn. On the other hand, pretty sure we'll see Drew Tate in the second half for Calgary.
Glenn with time. He's got McDaniel. Marco McDaniel heads out with Jawan Simpson in the pursuit position. A first down for Marquay McDaniel.
These don't seem like tough throws to make, but they are, because Kevin Glenn's got to lead McDaniel just out in front of him. There's a lot of problems if that ball is thrown behind him for the receiver.
Third catch of the night, 26 yards. For McDaniel, he's 52 away from 1,000. Time for Glenn. And the ball dropped by Bauman. Trying to come back to the football with Milt Collins on his back.
Bauman looked just a little bit casual there. He's coming back to that football. He did that well. It's the first step to make sure you separate yourself from the defender. Now Kevin Glenn wants to gun it in because it's a throw where there's a lot of red jerseys hanging out. He's coming back well. I think he got a little casual there on the catch and didn't secure it.
Number 1 pick in 07. He'll be a free agent. Be interesting to see how much interest in Chris Bauman around the league as they go deep, looking for Reggie Fish, who stretched out and couldn't make the play. In a good battle there with Dwight Anderson.
Boy, is this a good opportunity for Reggie Fish at Arkansas to get a chance to play. Arland Bruce could have played tonight if this was a playoff game, but a chance for Reggie Fish. Marcel Belfay thought that Bruce should rest this one out, make sure he's completely healthy when they need him the most. It may cost him the receiving title, but there's a little move by Fish to try and get inside. Looked like he had a step.
Oh, John Hufnagel sat Dion Murphy tonight. He wanted a little bit more on his returns, and this time it's R.J. Franklin providing that. Up to the 49-yard line for R.J. Franklin, and a minute 15 for the Calgary Stampeders to increase this 17-point lead.
This Hamilton Tiger Cat defense, if you mentioned, Chris, gave up 3 points against Montreal. Yeah, that's right, Montreal last week. 3 points against Toronto the week before, 11 against Edmonton. That's the entire game. They've given up 27.
Previous 3 games, they'd gone 30-plus per game, and Greg Marshall had to lower the boot, draw play, and John Cornish shakes down inside the Hamilton 50, a first down.
Let me correct that. There was 1 interception for a touchdown by Dwight Anderson in the first quarter, so that's a score on defense. So his defense hasn't given up 27, but more than they have in the last 3 games in the entire game.
A 13-yard run for Cornish. First down Stamps over the middle. There's Lewis, a catch, and Jamal Johnson drops him at about the 38-yard line, and will be about a yard short of another Stampeder first down.
My guess is John Hufnagel will go to Drew Tate in the second half. So this will be the last 54 seconds for Henry Burris in this one.
Short yardage, and Burris plunging ahead. Nick Lewis now within 2 of his personal best, 87 catches back in 2008.
You know, when you talk to Hufnagel about Burris, and he may be resting in the second half, and probably say, well, why wouldn't you rest Nick Lewis? Why wouldn't you rest Robbie Bryant? Why wouldn't you rest Kenyon Ramble? The rosters aren't big enough to rest everybody.
Somebody's got to play.
Yeah.
We might see more of Jabari Arthur in the second half, but Burris just gets that away, and it's a catch for Ryan Thelwell. And it's been a while between catches. That's his first since August the 15th.
You know, I just sometimes the things that Henry Burris can get away with, Chris, because of his athletic ability and his arm strength.
Timeout, Calgary.
I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks, you know, in every league, in both leagues, basically, that when they're falling backwards can't gun it 40, 45 yards across the field and get it there. I mean, you know, Henry Burris, so many times, whether it be making a guy miss with his legs, he was bracing himself for a hit there and falling away, and he throws the ball. That ball he threw earlier to Robbie Bryant, where he half rolled to his right and threw back deep to Robbie Bryant for a touchdown on the opposite side of the field, was about a 60, 70-yard throw. He can just get away with so many things with his athletic ability.
First and 10, less than a half minute to go. Dumps it off, Nick Lewis. Kicks it outside. And he'll stop the clock. First down at the 11. Fans thought Jerome Dennis could have been called for the late push, but no flag, and probably the correct call. 20 seconds to go.
I love that as Nick Lewis is coming across the middle, and I think every Hamilton Tiger Cat that was close wanted to get ready to brace themselves for a hit.
I was getting ready.
And this, you won't see this very often, where Nick Lewis breaks away and tries to get to the sideline, but he's trying to stop the clock here. Everyone was bracing for a big hit here, and he tried to get out and stop the clock, and that was the right decision.
So they're at the 12, first and 10. And Henry Hills, he let it go. Ball falls short, but there is a flag down at the goal line. Looks like another pass interference call against Hamilton.
Illegal contact on the receiver. Hamilton, number 7. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Bo Smith. So 15 seconds left, and first and goal now at the 6.
Bo Smith's the corner, is trying to fight through a pick here. Robbie Bryant cuts underneath. This is where he gets the penalty. And he's got to protect himself there from Rob Cote. I'm not sure how that's illegal contact. You're allowed to protect yourself in your position.
Pressure. Burris gets it away, and it's another touchdown. No. Did he catch it? Yes. Touchdown signal. We might get a challenge. Robbie Bryant. Challenge flags out.
Well, we'll see if he did hang on to this catch, to this touchdown. Once again, Burris falling away on his back foot because of the pressure. The Ticats going with blitz, puts it out front. Now, does Robbie Bryant have it long enough for a touchdown? He's crossed the plane.
It looks like he survived it, and then it got ripped out by Bo Smith.
Now, we did slow it down, but he did survive contact with the ground.
And if it stands, it's his second of the game and 13th of the year.
He might go ahead and catch Wes Cates in that department.
Hamilton is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass. Touchdown.
So let's have another look, but
well, he's crossed the plane when he has it, and I don't think it comes out
down
till
there
after he's down right there.
Yeah. And you got to survive all the way to the ground, and it does look like he is able to do that. Knee down, ball still in possession.
Still in possession.
And right there, but we have been surprised before.
Yes,
if it stands, it would be a league-leading 13th touchdown grab of the year. Going one up on Terrence Edwards. Receiving.
But when you're overall in the Wes Cates with 15, he's catching Wes Cates.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It is a completed pass. Touchdown.
What a first half explosion for the Calgary Stampeders against a Hamilton defense that had been the stingiest in the CFL coming into this week.
You know, and that was interesting because it was ripped out late, but again, the accuracy on the throw from Henry Burris falling away from a blitz and backpedaling. Again, just another example of his athletic ability and the things he gets away with.
12 touchdowns in 4.5 games for Burris, 36 touchdown passes on the year.
Even some of the best quarterbacks in the league, when they're pressured and are having to fall away and throw off their back foot, how many bad throws have we seen where you have to go in and say, well, because he's throwing off his back foot and backpedaling away, he couldn't get the accuracy on the throw. Henry Burris can do it. He can get away with it. He can do it off his left foot. He can do it on the run. He can strong arm it, rolling one side and throwing to the back side of the formation. When you play against Henry Burris, you have to defend the entire field. And Henry Burris now has 36 touchdown passes on the season.
You know, that race for MOP is so tight that I thought it might get decided in the last month of the year. And number one's making a pretty good case to be number one. He was the runner-up in 2008, and I think a lot of people in Calgary bristled at the fact he did not win 2 years ago. He may get another chance.
Well, his teammate Nick Lewis has mentioned that a couple of times over the last few weeks when been asked about that. He said, you know, we get nominated a lot, but we don't win much when it comes to those type of awards.
Here's a return by Big Pen, and he's upended by Jesse Lumsden with a special teams tackle.
Second game in a row, Jesse Lumsden dresses and will play on the special teams. We won't see him likely the rest of the year or all year at the running back spot unless there's an injury. But Jesse Lumsden will play the teams, and a nice tackle in the open field there.
Former Ticat looking pretty good on that tackle.
John Huffnagel was asked yesterday if we would see Jesse Lumsden in the backfield, he said, unless there's an injury, likely not, but why not next year work him in there?
5 seconds left. They call the draw, and Cobb will be run down by Devon Claybrooks to end the first half. And that's not a good way to end it for the Ticats. It was a tough first half, and now DeAndre Cobb may be on the limp. It started early with an injury to Matt Kirk. A lot of Henry Burris in the first half, and now Cobb hobbled as the teams head to the locker room. A 24-point Stampeder lead at halftime.
Hey, what's up? It's Friday Night Football!
Impressive first half for the Calgary Stampeders. They take a 24-point lead into the second half here at McMahon Stadium.
Now both Calgary quarterbacks were warming out, Drew Tate and Henry Burris. Looks like Henry Burris got his warm-up jacket on. Now they will kick off. It'll be Hamilton with the ball first. But we'll see. Maybe Henry Burris gets another series or two.
When he came out, he did toss the ball around. Looked like he was ready to continue on. But we will see Drew Tate, one would expect, sometime in the second half.
Well, Chris, you know, I'm certainly not going to second guess John Hufnagel, but the bottom line being that I would be surprised. I mean, I'm not sure why he plays Henry Burris. Why would you play him?
I have an answer, but I know it's not the correct one for John Hufnagel, but
won't be for me either, and I know where you're going.
Individual award?
I knew you were going, yeah. And I don't for a second. Now, you know, this Hamilton passing game has got sort of a bad taste in their mouth, I'm sure, after that first half. They're better than that and have been a lot better than that over the last 3 games, certainly putting up 36, 30, and 40 points over the last 3 in their last 3 wins, but 75 yards passing. And I know Kevin Glenn wants to improve on that.
Schultz made the point at halftime about not having the stretch guy, the deep threat, Marlon Bruce. See if he can get it going without Bruce second half. DeAndre Cobb is in, and that's good news. And that catch is made by Dave Stala, as Stala sets his sights on hitting that 1,000-yard mark and gets a little closer with that pickup and a first down.
Yeah, you know, DeAndre Cobb is in, and that is good news for Hamilton fans. But the fact that he's in, again, surprises me a little. I mean, these teams have got their playoff positions. He was nicked in the last play of the first half.
Call for Stala, fumble, and Glenn has to eat the football with pressure coming from Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson and Devon Claybrooks, one of the 2 just dynamite interior defensive lineman combinations. I mean, these 2 guys, they can dominate in that middle, and Tom Johnson steps up. Just look at the bull rush, just push. Rotier just in his roller skates there.
Loss of 5, so it's 2nd and 15. Glenn steps up, he looks downfield, he wants foul, but look at the tight coverage there. Brandon Isaac in the area, and there is a flag on the play. Away from the intended target.
I was going to say, I didn't see anything wrong with the coverage from Brandon Isaac. He was in perfect position. Extra defensive back that rotates in.
Illegal contact on the receiver. Calgary. 10-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
Didn't get a number, but it was not Brandon Isaac. It was in the middle of the field. Unless an official from a long way away called number 30, but we did not get a number.
Yeah, and it really wasn't at the point of attack. It was more over the middle.
So it's a 10-yard penalty and a 2nd and 5. Then, and that pass batted down. Good close there by Keon Raymond, who has interceptions in his last 2 games. So Eric Werber comes on to punt. Line drive kick, and Tally has it. That is 18. Shannon James, first contact. Tally up to the 25 on the return. Calgary football when we come back. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Husqvarna. Taming the wild with Husqvarna leaf blowers and chainsaws. Hope they're not using those chainsaws on this Halloween weekend.
Strictly for props, partner.
Burst back in after a huge first half. Fakes to Reynolds. Long out. And there's Kenyon Rambo pushed out by Ryan Hines on the corner.
He had a good first half. Over 200 yards for Henry Burris in the first half. Hit that deep one to Robbie Bryant. 211, 14 of 20, and 2 touchdowns. Leads the league in that category. You know, he's on pace for 51-73. I know you talk about individual awards and individual yardage. Last time he had 5,000, the team won the Grey Cup. I'm still surprised that he's in the game.
Prior to that last completion, he needed 284 yards for his all-time personal best. And dumps it off. Nick Lewis will cut into that total. First down run for Lewis up to the 50-yard line. And 13 more.
You know, when you look at the weapons that he has, I mean, Henry Burris, he's got the bull, right? There's the bull. He's got a truck with no brakes going downhill. That's one receiver. Then he's got speed. That's Robbie Bryant. And they say Robbie Bryant's the fastest guy on that team and in that offense. And then they've got Mr. Everything in Kenyon Rambo. So you've got all 3 of those weapons. And don't rule out R.J. Franklin either as a possession receiver.
All 3 now over 1,000 as Bryant and Rambo took care of that tonight. But Rambo's going to add to his totals as he gets pushed out by Jeff Tisdale.
You know, all 3 1,000. And again, R.J. Franklin is that possession guy. Kenyon Rambo could do it all. He's got the speed to get behind any player. Franklin's a possession guy, first down guy. I know he had a drop last week. Robbie Bryant speed. Now, when I asked Henry Burris about who's the fastest, he says, well, Kenyon and Robbie Bryant may argue that back and forth a little bit. They're just about an inch or 2 to go here. And then he said to me, he says, you know, actually, Robbie Bryant is one of those guys, when he's even, he's leaving. And as a DB, I remember those guys. If he gets close to you, he's gone by you, and Ryan Hines knows that. The corner for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who was beat on a deep point earlier in this game. So just a great variety in the receiving corps, and also tremendous weapons for Henry Burris.
And you're just scratching the surface. You've talked about the 3 1,000-yard guys. For Calgary, it gets even better than that. It's short yardage. Drew Tate will plunge ahead. That's a first down. A lot of teams have had 3 1,000-yard receivers. Hamilton may by the end of the night as well. But no team's ever had 3 1,000-yard receivers and 3 rushers who have all had 500 yards plus. And they're closing in on that with Reynolds, Cornish, and Henry Burris needed just 30 yards to join that club prior to tonight's game.
And that's the man at the controls, and that's why I still think he gets the nod as MLP out of his team.
And here's Thelwell's second catch. And Ryan Thelwell brought down at the 43-yard line.
Because you know, when you talk about 1,000-yard receivers, and there's the 3 of them there, and then the running backs, Joffrey over 1,000 again, and if Burrs can get a few more, which he will, he'll be over 500. So that's 3 rushers over 500. But one guy's got to pull the trigger on all of that.
That is a diversified attack.
And that's the man that pulls the trigger.
2nd and 4. Burris hit as he threw, but he's got a completion. And Robbie Bryant is in again. Third touchdown of the game. He has 14 on the year.
Henry Burris hit while he throws this football, throws it right into the middle, and just like the earlier long touchdown to Robbie Bryant, he cuts across the face. This time it's Bo Smith. And if Robbie Bryant's even, he's leaving.
His last 3 catches have all reached the end zone. Not a 43-yarder. And it's another stampede at McMahon.
One away from tying Wes Cates for the league lead in touchdowns scored. Cates has 14 rushing, 1 receiving. Bryant now just needs 1 to tie him, and that's receiving touchdowns alone.
Bo Smith, the corner, down on the play, getting attention.
He's right out on the boundary. And watch Robbie Bryant here up the field. Now he gets jammed. Now Bo Smith misses the jam a little bit, so he's in the chase now. But again, you see how he cuts across to just run down to that football, and that's what I'm talking about, the speed. Just breakaway speed where Dylan Barker, the safety, couldn't get there, outran that angle, and was by Bo Smith.
Big night for 83, and 3 touchdown passes for Henry Burris, up to 37. And Bo Smith continues to get attention, so we'll step out prior to the convert. Well, TSN2 continues to bring you more NFL action. Weekly Sunday games beginning at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific this Sunday. The Dolphins take on the Bengals.
Dolphins, one of my favorite teams now to watch because of Cameron Wake down there. Already has 6 sacks on the season. Looks like a dominant rush end down in the National Football League. They lost a close game to Pittsburgh last week, but controversial ending. And this is not good news for Hamilton, as Bo Smith can't put any weight on that left foot.
Short side corner. Just back in the Hamilton lineup after being with the New York Jets.
You know, he sort of missed the jam and was in chase position on Robbie Bryant here. It had to be at the end of the play because he's driving hard there, and then you can see the left ankle look like he twists his left ankle going in, and now he can't run. That's why he goes down and can't cut off Robbie Bryant.
Boy, that replay, good indication of the torque as his ankle twisted. Brandon Browner over to Hoffer and Dwight Anderson as well. And Pat Clayton looks like he'll accompany Bo Smith. Clayton, the Calgary athletic therapist.
I know, yeah. I messed up on
Can't coach speed. You either have it or you don't.
see the one I just took.
I know I didn't. He does.
And apparently uncontested, the fastest man in the Calgary Stampeder lineup. Usually you'll get a pretty good debate on any team, but apparently everybody defers to Robbie. long-awaited extra point makes it a 31-point Calgary lead.
14 touchdowns receiving, leads the Canadian Football League. An excellent trade by John Hufnagel to get him and R.J. Franklin. The trade with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers where they got Odell Willis. Basically the nuts of it. Now he's had a good year over there. No slight against him, but there was questions about whether or not Robbie Bryant could play.
Questions about a few of those Winnipeg receivers from a couple of years ago. I think Terrence Edwards and Robbie Bryant answered the questions.
Anyway, I can get
Can play. How about All-Star?
And John Hufnagel with a smile on his face. This has gone as well as he could have hoped. The second last game of the year.
And that has to be it for Henry Burris.
One would expect his night is done. And he was able to polish up those personal stats. There's Thigpen on the return across the 30. Let's check back in with Sarah Orleski.
Well, Chris, we talked about how the Stamps now have 3 receivers with over 1,000 yards, and it's possible that the Ticats could do that as well tonight. For the first time ever, Arlan Bruce, who isn't here this evening, is already over 1,000 yards, and Dave Stala and Marquay McDaniel are quickly closing in on it.
They have to get their quarterback. Their passing game has to get sharpened up a little bit for those guys to get to their 1,000.
Kevin Glenn still in, and that one short hop to the intended target, Chris Bauman.
Calgary's got their guys. They've got Rambo and Bryant over 1,000, and Bryant's done it in style tonight with a couple big deep bombs. And there's how close Dave Stala and Marquay McDaniel are. But this passing game is bogged down without Arlan Bruce, and Chris Schultz talked about it at halftime, and I can agree 100%. I mean, Saskatchewan felt it last week when they didn't have Weston Dressler in the lineup. It just changes the dynamic of your receiving core.
Bryant Rambo, the 9th and 10th men in the league this year, and Marquay McDaniel and Dave Stala waiting to join the club, but that pass off the fingertips of McDaniel, and Hamilton just can't get into any rhythm offensively.
You know what it does when you don't have your #1 receiver, and you know, let's be straight about it. I mean, he's not just #1 Arlan Bruce on the team. He's #1 in the league coming into this week. So you're talking about the best receiver in the league, arguably, in Arlan Bruce. And not having him changes everything.
Wilbur with another good boot. Landon Talley back at his 26, and Dylan Barker down in a hurry on teams for the Ticats. Our sack tally brought to you by Purolator, tackling hunger across Canada. Check.
No, Calgary and Hamilton both right in the battle, but no sacks by either team tonight. A little surprising with the quality of defensive lines both these teams have.
Henry Burris's night is done. Drew Tate is in. And he'll hand it off on the draw play to Joffrey Reynolds up to the 34-yard line. Drew Tate, if there was an award for it, might be in contention for best backup this year. Boy, he's been good whenever we've seen him.
75% of his passes. He'll only attempted 28, but he's completed 21 of them. There's the final numbers for Henry Burris after 2.5 quarters of play. That's pretty impressive.
Up to 4,890 yards on the year. And now with 37 touchdown passes. Oh, and trouble there. There was some early movement. Drew Tate hits the deck to grab the pigskin. 5 consecutive games that he has been in and thrown passes. He has thrown touchdown passes. So he's been productive in limited action.
Procedure. Calgary, number 68. 5-yard penalty, remaining second down.
It's Rob Lazio, the center, called.
Well, just before Drew Tate got the nod, I guess Henry Burris was told that that was his last series, so he goes over to Drew Tate. Now he's going to coach him up. Now he's going to talk about what he's seen on the field what he can take advantage of. Dave Dickinson jumps into the conversation. Okay, you've got the ball now. Here's what I think you should do.
And he misfires looking for Thelwell. And it'll be 3rd down for the Stampeders.
Looks like Drew Tate's got to keep warming up and loosen up a little bit on the sideline. He had Thelwell there on the crossing route. He looked like he overstrided when he stepped to that too. Maybe just a little excited and getting a chance to play. I mentioned he had 28 passes attempted so far this season, completed 21 of them. That's 75%. And as you mentioned, in his limited playing time, 5 touchdowns, has not thrown an interception. Usually those backups come in, they make a mistake or two. Not Drew Tate.
Birkdale's kick settles at the 35. And Thigpen is buried. A loss as Mark Caliste, who's had another solid year on the teams, makes the tackle.
Friday night football, and once again a chance for us to recognize our brave soldiers in the Canadian Forces. Meet Warrant Officer John Green, Reconnaissance Squadron, 1st Battalion, Royal Canadian Regiment Battle Group. Right now there's roughly 2,800 Canadian Forces personnel deployed to Operation Athena, Canada's contribution to the NATO-led security mission in Afghanistan. And you know, with Remembrance Day closing in, make sure you get your poppies and think about our heroes in the Canadian Forces.
There's a surprise. DeAndre Cobb still in the game, and we wondered about that. Quentin Porter is replacing Kevin Glenn, but Cobb remains in.
Not surprised in the quarterbacks. There's Quentin Porter. Now we'll take a look at him for the rest of this game. But yeah, with DeAndre Cobb being nicked in that early, just at the end of the first half, just ugly numbers for Kevin Glenn. I'm surprised to see Cobb in there as well.
Kevin Glenn with over 900 yards in the last 3 starts. Under 100 tonight. Porter guns that and has a completion. Brandon Smith, tight coverage on Dave Stala.
Gets him closer to that 1,000-yard season, though.
And it looks like forward progress is enough for the 1st down.
Sort of some of the things we'll watch now as this game goes on.
Stala 4 yards away now.
Needs one more catch, and Marquay McDaniels, the other receiver, Sarah mentioned, that knocking on the door to give the Hamilton Tiger Cats for the first time 3.
That surprised me.
Yeah,
first time ever.
First time ever, 3,000-yard receivers.
And here's Thigpen on 1st down, and nothing doing there as Claybrooks pushes him back. Interesting rotation for Calgary on that defensive line. Justin Phillips. When Phillips is in, Claybrooks is in. And when Phillips goes to the sideline, Corey Mace has to come in to keep up the Canadian ratio. And that cues either Robert McCune or Charleston Hughes.
Well, Devon Claybrooks has actually been a scratch because of the ratio as the Calgary Stampeders are juggling it back and forth.
2nd and 10. Time for Porter, looks for Stala. It's intercepted. Brandon Browner, there is a flag down as Brandon Browner upended on a big tackle by Dave Stala. Let's find out what the flag's all about. It was right in the area where Brandon Browner intercepted the pass.
That'll be his 5th if it counts.
Wondering if it's pass interference against Browner. Let's see.
Well, that reaction says a lot from Browner.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact on a receiver. Calgary, number 27, 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
It is indeed.
Well, he lines up on Stala the whole way inside right here. Brandon Browner, so you be the judge. Illegal contact. Stala's trying to get inside to the middle. Grab there, pulls the shoulder pads. This time doesn't let go, and he's caught. We showed you one earlier where there was no flag, and he grabbed a little bit.
You know, you made the good point last week or a couple of weeks ago when he shut down Andy Fantuz. The next week, 1 catch for G. Roy Simon. But last week, 2 other BC Lion receivers were held to 1 catch. So there's a lot of guys in that secondary getting the job done, and Brandon Browner's the key. Hand off, and Thigpen kicks it outside. Little foot race here, and what a close by Juwan Simpson. Marcus Thigpen had a lot of running room ahead of him, but Simpson limits the damage.
You're right, Chris. Brandon Browner last couple weeks shutting down Andy Fantus. He played one-on-one on Jamel Richardson, shut him down once. Richardson got him the first time, and then was on Fantus, and then played G. Roy Simon last week, held him to a catch. Now, G. Roy Simon said this week that there was a little bit of clutching and grabbing like that going on. Nonetheless, had Brandon Browner been doing that all year, he might be their defensive player candidate.
13-yard run by Thigpen, a first down, and a ball short hop to the intended target, Reggie Fish.
Because like I mentioned, and I know receivers will say, well, wait a minute, you can't grab the jersey like that, and they're right, you can't. I mean, in the rules, you cannot grab the jersey and close your fist on the jersey. Now, Brandon Browner's got away with that because he can. Because if you do it quick enough, it's like when the receiver gives you that little push as he's making his break. He just gives you a little shove, right? The defensive back, a little push to get some separation. They get away with that more times than not.
So it's 2nd and 10. And pressure coming on Porter. Malik Jackson in pursuit. And Porter drops the football. Calgary's on it. Looked like Robert McCune came up with it. Another Hamilton turnover.
Well, the 3 guys on this team that lead the league for Calgary, or excuse me, lead their team in the hits department, not tackles, but in the hits department, are Juwan Simpson, who's getting held there a little bit and hustles over. Malik Jackson, he's in 2nd, so he strips it. And the guy who's in 3rd with 61 hits recovers it. Juwan Simpson leads. He's got 88 for this team. 63 for Malik Jackson. He strips it, and McCune picks up the fumble.
You mentioned they'd lost the lead as the stingiest defense. It looks like they're intent on getting it back. DeMonte Bolden with the tackle on Drew Tate. 14 points off turnovers so far for the Stampeders in the game. Of course, won the pick 6 by Dwight Anderson.
McCune's only played 11 games as well. And to have those kind of numbers in the hits, and he's moved around, played middle linebacker for a game.
Brought in as the middle linebacker,
Yep.
but Juwan Simpson was so good in the preseason, they moved him to rush end, and he's only played at the middle spot once. Drew Tate will play action, and now flares it out, and Kenyon Rambo will get bounced out at the Hamilton 40-yard line.
Well, this is Drew Tate now with a chance to run this zone read play, and what a great decision here. This is a split-second decision now. He's going to put the ball in the stomach of John Cornish, and then he's going to take a quick read on Stevie Baggs right here. If Stevie Baggs is here, he pulls it. If he stays high, he gives it to Cornish. Watch him. Pulls it. Stevie Baggs got Cornish. He gets it out there and takes the next option. Good decision by Drew Tate.
So a first down for the Stamps, and the handoff to Cornish. Trying to cut back, and Bolden with another tackle, as Justin Hickman wouldn't let Cornish turn the corner. 3-yard gain. Under 2 minutes remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
Possibly the nominee for outstanding Canadian from the Calgary Stampeders.
Sure
John
looks like
Cornish.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. His contribution this year. You could throw Rob Maver into that, but Rob Mavers also could be up for rookie or special teams player for this team. So
I would, but since Chris Schultz already feels John Cornish is the top Canadian in the league, I'm not going to argue with him.
in the league.
In the league, he said. Now, I'll argue that, but I figure if he's best in the league in Schultz's books, he must be the best here in Calgary.
Is that just because Schultz is bigger than you by that much, or because, hey, I think he's had a great season, but Andy Fantus has as well, and
yes,
you know, there's a guy in this game that
Dave
could be
Stalla.
in the running, and Dave Stalla. So some good play from all 3 of those Canadians, just to name a few.
Well, here's a chance for Rob Maver to strut his stuff.
Well, you got to think that he's a nominee in one of 3 possible categories.
Maver attempting this from 44 yards out. A bit of a test here from John Hufnagel. He's 2 for 8 outside the 40. And from 44 yards out, he's going to be short. So that's been a problem. And this was being returned. And only Maver can catch him. How about Marcus Thigpen? He's going to do it again. Thigpen with his 4th touchdown return of the season. And that's the danger in trying the long field goal and coming up short.
Well, it's been that kind of year in the Canadian Football League for kick returns for touchdowns. We saw in the game before tonight, Chad Owens at it again. Giannis Davis of the BC Lions has been spectacular. We'll see him this weekend. And how about this guy in Marcus Thigpen? Has scored in 5 different ways for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Did that early on. Outstanding in the return game. I mean, this is one of the aspects of Canadian football that is awesome. Any kick can be returned like that. The field is so big, so wide, and these guys are fast.
111 yards on that missed field goal return for a touchdown to brighten things up a little bit on that Hamilton sideline.
He's got close to a 10-yard punt return average, over a 20-yard kick return average, touchdowns in both those categories, missed field goal return, and there's some bigger guys covering there, and you can see the big guys just lumbering. And Marcus Thigpen, he was pulling away for 50 yards. I mean, he made a 10-yard gap turn into about a 30-yard gap by the time he crossed the end zone. That's the kind of open field speed he has.
Well, I believe that's the 18th kick return touchdown on the season.
It's a good year. It's a good year.
Weren't there 9 last year? And Marcus Thigpen, a big reason that number has been inflated this season.
DeMonte Bolden, Chris, is on the return team, and you watch him step in on a block here on Devon Claybrooks. Wow.
That's a big man collision.
Yeah.
I'll see if Talley can answer. And he is brought down quickly as Jonathan Hood was there to meet him after a short return. Well, that was I'm assuming a test by John Hufnagel for the kid. They didn't need 3 there.
No.
But it was a chance to simulate something, and I guess that's one of the few concerns he might have going into the playoffs. Does he have the ability to hit a field goal from outside 40 in a close game?
Well, in the playoff game, we know will be here outdoors for the Calgary Stampeders.
Joffrey Reynolds up to the 35-yard line.
Talk about award nominees, and I know you can make an argument for Nick Lewis, and we talked about the intangibles with regards to Nick Lewis, whether or not he gets the nod over Henry Burrs. Remember last year? Nick Lewis on Zeke Moreno.
Zeke might not remember.
And he said, I hit him right in the chest. And then BC game, Adam Leonard, a week ago, discussed all week that hit.
I think discussed too much. That was a terrific hit, and not sure it should have been called into question as much as it was. We're done 3 quarters here at McMahon Stadium, and the Calgary Stampeders with a big lead. Well, that stat sheet tipping to the Stampeders side. Our 3rd quarter numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
Over 300 yards passing for Calgary. They now have their 3,000-yard receivers. It wasn't a good first half for Kevin Glenn. Pulled in that 3rd quarter. And obviously they're resting Kevin Glenn for the semifinal game in Hamilton.
Nothing at stake for Calgary, and yet they wanted to improve on 2-4 in their last 6. Argos lose, nothing really at stake for Hamilton, who finally beat one of the big boys last week in Montreal. They've got to be disappointed, though, that they haven't been able to follow up on that.
Yeah, and I don't want to give them an alibi, but they are missing Arlen Bruce, and that is a big guy to miss from your offense. That's your leading receiver in the Canadian Football League. All the attention that he will garner when you have to cover him and double team him and things like that opens up room for everybody else. But you're right, it wasn't a good outing so far for Hamilton.
Here's Reggie Fish on the return, and he gets swarmed before he can reach the 25. Charleston Hughes leading the surge downfield, and we'll see the third Hamilton quarterback on the night as Adam Tafralas comes in after the Quentin Porter fumble.
And he's attempted 2 passes this season.
Guy we've seen in short yardage. And if memory serves, on a third down gamble last year at Ivor
Yes,
Wynn, did he not throw a touchdown against Calgary?
Yes, he did.
These teams have played 3 straight close games, 2 by 1 and a touchdown win, and the other tonight a departure from the recent season series between Calgary and Hamilton.
It's interesting to see Marcel Belfay go this quickly to Adam Tafralas. Just the reason I wonder about that is maybe is Quentin Porter starting to slip in that number 2 spot at quarterback, and just his ball handling skills a little suspect over the last little while. I know he's not getting a lot of reps. It's been Kevin Glenn start to finish for the most part. You wonder if that status as the number 2 guy is starting to slip a bit for Quentin Porter.
And here's Tafralas dumping it off. DeAndre Cobb, Tom Johnson couldn't bring him down. How did Cobb stay up? And finally Dwight Anderson's there to wrestle him down after a short gain. But you're right, what happens if Kevin Glenn is injured next week or early in a playoff game? Have you established who the next guy is? I wondered about ball security too, and just checking the stats, it's the 2nd fumble loss by Porter this season.
Which is not bad. I mean,
it's not epidemic anyway.
Kevin Glenn's lost 3.
Good kick by Wilbur.
A lot of more playing time now.
And Talley got away, and he gets forced out at the 45-yard line. Early 4th quarter. CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by the 2011 GMC Sierra Heavy Duty. Never send a truck to do a Sierra's job. Drew Tate to wrap things up in the 4th quarter at quarterback for the Stampeders, unless John Hufnagel wants to give Daryl Clark some late reps, but Henry Burris done for the night. And the Stampeders with the football at their own 45. And here's Jabari Arthur out near midfield. And Arthur has a pickup close to a 1st down.
Now you mentioned that the big hit Nick Lewis put on Adam Leonard, and last week Wally Buono throughout the week talked about how he felt that was a hit that the league should have fined. If they fined Solomon Elamimian for his hit on Ricky Ray a week earlier, that one also should have been finable. The league thought not, that Nick Lewis had turned his head and delivered into the body of Adam Leonard. There was helmet contact.
Here's Reynolds trying to break away, finally hauled down, but it's a 1st down run. Jamal Johnson with the tackle.
And you know, I know Wally Buono's concern, and I know this will be a topic of discussion in the offseason, but I think the league got it right. I mean, Nick Lewis, we showed you the Zeke Moreno hit just before the end of the quarter a year ago, and he came back. It is legal. There was no flag on the play, and he did turn his head. He didn't lead with the top of it as if it was a spear, and so there was no fine.
Leonard hit in the sternum. And Reynolds this time is tossed down.
It opens the debate, and it's been an interesting debate all week long about helmet-to-helmet contact. You know, the crackdown the NFL is trying to come up with to try and eliminate it, but I just don't know that you can. I really think that, I mean, at the end of the day, the helmet and the head is attached to the shoulders, and it's going to be involved. I mean, all you have to do is look at if any team wears a white helmet, and look at the middle linebacker's white helmet at the end of a game, and it's all scarred up. I mean, you can't eliminate the head from the process.
Here's Drew Tate looking for Rambo, and what a catch. In traffic and still going. He doesn't want to go down. Wow. Fourth quarter, a lead of 24, and still getting effort like that. That's impressive.
It really is. I mean, you know, first of all, you got to play full speed no matter what the circumstance, because that's, if you don't, that's when you get hurt. But look at this. Now, is that not helmet-to-helmet contact on both those players coming up to make tackles? I mean, if you're eliminating helmet-to-helmet in football, you're changing the game, because Kenyon Rambo got hit in the helmet twice by 2 helmets.
Saw the Ticats trying to tackle the football instead of the man with it, and Joffrey Reynolds on that carry.
And I mean, don't want to make the whole show about this idea, but the bottom line being that, let's just show you one more time, slow it down. But you know, if you eliminate helmet-to-helmet contact in football, you change the game, because look at this. Helmet contact there, no question. Coming back the other way, Jamal Johnson, helmet-to-helmet. It's just impossible to get it out. You could do that on almost every play and see it.
2nd and 6. Tate pumps and got hit, but he does get it away. Rambo another catch, and he has a first down at the 5-yard line. Drew Tate showing poise in the pocket, and Kenyon Rambo over 100 yards.
And
6th time he's done that this year.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris, you make such a good point about, you know, to watch a guy play at the top of his game when it's basically in the books. They have their playoff spot. They have their first place spot wrapped up. Drew Tate, nice throw here. As he settles in a little bit, he's got backside pressure, gets it out of there just in time.
And now the young quarterback will try and cap the drive. 1st and goal at the 5, and Reynolds is going to cut it back. Get a block from Tate for the touchdown. How about that?
There you go. Those are ones that are fun. Those are the ones that are fun when the whole team gets to watch the game back the next day.
Joffrey Reynolds smiling, and I think he's smiling because of the block that sprung him from number 4.
Reynolds in the backfield. Drew Tate follow number 4. Joffrey Reynolds is now watch. He follows through with his bootleg fake. Here comes Drew Tate. Nice.
I wonder if Dunnigan ever had one that nice. Probably, but that was fun to watch. Joffrey Reynolds has his 50th career rushing touchdown, and the extra point from Maver as the Stamps add to their lead. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. Rona, doing it right. 6 minutes into this 4th quarter, Joffrey Reynolds has a touchdown. And I think the quarterback's getting more of the acclaim on the sidelines after that run.
Oh, he was.
Here's Thigpen looking for another return of his own. Brought down just across the 35.
Yeah, he was, because Drew Tate comes around with a nice cut block on Ryan Hines, the corner. Just follow quarterback as he goes to the play action there and rolls out this direction. He'll stay in the bottom of the screen, come all the way around. Now, most of the time, a quarterback will just stay out there, play through the fake. Not Drew Tate. He steps up in there. Nice block on the cut block to Ryan Hines. Everyone congratulating him when he go it over there. Jabari Arthur, first guy to see him. And that's the one they'll all love to watch and give him the pat on the back tomorrow.
DeFralos, the quarterback for the Ticats, and looking for Maurice Mann, incomplete. Up against Brandon Browner. And here's the reaction on the bench when Drew Tate got to the sidelines.
Yeah, he walked over there. Everyone patting him on the back. And Dave Dickinson, he went, okay, so what was that you just did? Well, I blocked the guy. This is what I did. I came around and then I blocked a defense. And Dave went, yeah, I didn't do that when I...
and Dave probably didn't coach him to do that, but...
One of the best quarterbacks in league history. Wasn't throwing many blocks in his time, though.
Having a pretty good night play calling, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Here's a pass over the middle, complete, and Marquay McDaniel in pursuit of 1,000, not quite yet.
Not quite.
17 yards that time.
Personal best after his numbers last year, this year in both his catches and yards. Got out of the gate with a 100-yard game against Winnipeg in game 1 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he's now inside of 100 yards.
36 away. McDaniel in motion. And the handoff to Thigpen, trying to kick it outside, and nothing doing. Keon Raymond, one of the unsung guys in that Calgary defense, makes another tackle.
And they will go now with Marcus Thigpen running the football and get DeAndre Cobb. Some injury concerns. They lose Matt Kirk Hamilton in this game. We're not sure of his status. Bo Smith apparently has a bit of an Achilles issue, and he'll be re-examined when they get back to Hamilton. Of course, Noah Lambrus did not make the trip. He's going to be fine. And then you have DeAndre Cobb, who was nicked on the very last play and now comes back into the game, which is real surprising to me.
And DeFralos looking down that far sideline. Did Browner make the catch? No, incomplete, and flags are flying. As Maurice Mann and Browner continue their duel, and Browner's going to get called for the second time tonight.
Pass interference, Calgary, number 27, automatic first down.
And the refs got it right, and it is interference, and it is what Brandon Browner does, and sometimes he gets away with it. This time he hangs on a little too long. You can see he gets it now, 1, 10, 15, almost 13 yards there with the arm on the shoulder of Maurice Mann.
So it's a Ticat first down at the Calgary 30. And the run to the left side. Thigpen is able to get it outside. Cuts it back. And Marcus Thigpen has another touchdown. Wow. 111 yards on a missed field goal return. And now a nifty 30-yard run to the end zone.
The game hasn't really been in doubt for a while, but we still see some real exciting plays in this one, and that's one of them. I mean, Marcus Thigpen kind of bobs and weaves his way. He will give up ground to get some space. Nice cut back right there on Brandon Isaac.
And the extra point from DeAngelis. So the lead is now 48-24 on the 30-yard touchdown run. Our game story brought to you by Mr. Lube.
Well, Kevin Glenn gets the record, 30th touchdown pass. That's a Ticat single season record for touchdown passes in a season. Still should get his 5,000. Going to need a big game to finish off the season. Romby Bryant, 3 touchdowns now, 1 touchdown behind Wes Cates to tie him for the league lead.
Here's Talley. Up over the 35, and Ray Marios is there.
Thigpen with a nice return off a missed field goal, and then a touchdown on a good run there where he bounced it outside.
He's been the Ticat offense in the second half. So Marcus Thigpen has 3 touchdowns on the season offensively and has his 4th on special teams tonight. Had a touchdown in the first meeting against Calgary on a 35-yard pass play. Ryan Thelwell, a little busier tonight for the veteran, and he's tossed out at the Calgary bench. 37-year-old Ryan Thelwell with his 3rd catch of the night.
You mentioned when Drew Tate came in the game that he has had good numbers as a backup and limited playing time. The most reps he got was in the BC game on October 10th, was 8 of 13 there. You saw decent numbers again in his limited action without an interception.
First down up at the 48. Fake to Cornish and a completion outside, and Rambo's got another first down. Solid night for the dangerous weapons, Rambo and Bryant.
Little bit of a limp there from Kenyon Rambo, though, and he took some big hits on some of those. Robbie Bryant has been able to run by defensive backs in this one. A couple of deep passes for him, but if John Hufnagel has a backup, the rosters aren't too deep for Kenyon Rambo. He might want to go to him. There's a little bit of limp as he gets back out there.
Back to Cornish, he kicks it outside. Jeff Tisdale was there to make sure.
You know, he was noticeably limping coming out of the huddle again, Chris. He just...
And here comes Landon Talley.
Yeah, I think they're going to try and get Kenyon Rambo out of there. He breaks the huddle. He's just coming out. You can see he's kind of deliberately not putting as much weight on. And when he took off on the snap of the ball, he barely moved. This was the tackle that he got up limping a little bit inside of the knee, possibly.
So Landon Talley is in to replace Rambo, and quickly the hit screen to Talley.
Well, if you're going to send him in with a play.
Yep, Jamal Johnson will bring him to the turf.
Not necessarily the way they used to do it in the old school. They used to send in players in rotation and they would have a play to tell the quarterback, but now with the new headsets and the fact that they can communicate, Dave Dickinson can talk right to Drew Tate. Something that every team has loved. To have that communication.
Great
with
for the number 1
quarterback.
guys, but you would think even more useful for a situation like that with the young quarterbacks who don't have as many reps. But certainly a terrific innovation this season.
Well, it's, you know, you don't have a lot of time on that, but Dave Dickinson, looks like Calgary doesn't have the right personnel on the field, but
Timeout, Calgary.
you know, Dave Dickinson in this case can, in a young quarterback like Drew Tate, he gives him the play, right? And then he'll go and give him a heads up, you know, an alert, we used to call him, where you say the play to Drew Tate, you say, okay, you know, I write 45, hit screen, you know, whatever the terminology. Then you can say, watch linebacker or check for safety blitz, something like that, just to give him that communication, that heads up and that alert. So yeah, it's technology that makes a big difference.
Got heads up and alert on that Calgary bench. Did you see Burris's reaction? They had 13 men out. That's why they had to call the timeout. And even with a 24-point lead, that's going to cause some problems on that Calgary bench. And Burkdale sails the kick into the end zone, and that's
He's coming to get it.
Yeah, you better pick it up here, and that will be the single point. 49 for Calgary. That matches a season high allowed by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Winnipeg put 49 on the board in week 1. But they have 13 men on the punt team. They have to call the timeout, and Mark Killam hears about it from the head man.
Everyone's accountable no matter what. John Hufnagel.
And reversed it. I didn't hear a thing.
I'll just stand over here. When Coach Hufnagel starts that scowl, I'm going to move down this part of the bench right over here.
And that, folks, is with a 25-point lead.
Yeah. Because you can't be focused and concentrate and consistent part of the time to be a good football team, to be a 12-win football team, which the Stampeders will become in 3 minutes and 14 seconds. You don't just do it part-time. You've got to do it all the time. Now, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have bad games, and you're going to have adversity hit you. It's how you bounce back from that, but focus and concentration is a full-time thing for good teams.
Hamilton, number 83, went out of bounds, came back in and played the ball. Penalties applied for the 10-yard line, half the distance to the goal. First down, no point.
No point, so it remains 48, and that was a strange play, as I guess Reggie Fish stepped out before coming back to the football, and an unusual penalty on a punt into the end zone is a break for the Stampeders. You know, I think one of the more remarkable stats in a great year for Calgary is that they have led after 3 quarters in 15 of their 17 games. That shows you how competitive and in some cases dominant they've been this year.
And a lot of that is to do with their defense as well. They just shut down teams in that third quarter.
And now Hamilton has to call a timeout.
You know, some backups in the game.
Timeout, Hamilton.
Things not going quite as smoothly for either team as we sneak up here on the 3-minute warning.
And they've decided to give the 3-minute warning here with the Stampeders in charge. Well, tomorrow we head up to Edmonton to see the Eskimos and the Blue Bombers. Sunday, it's in Vancouver as the Saskatchewan Roughriders battle the BC Lions. Live coverage here on TSN 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sunday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific tomorrow night as Marcus Thigpen off and running again, and it's a first down gallop for Thigpen.
BC Lions billing that one as their home playoff game. Face the Saskatchewan Roughriders on Halloween.
And that's the only thing left in doubt after the Argo loss against Montreal in that wild first game of the doubleheader. They'll play in Hamilton in the Eastern semi. Who's going to play in Saskatchewan in the Western semifinal?
So that's a bit of an important game for the Edmonton Eskimos tomorrow. And it goes without saying, against a Winnipeg team that is searching for a quarterback.
Tom Johnson shaken up on the last play. He heads off. We'll see Joey Elliott.
And Jared Zabransky. Sounds like for the Edmonton Eskimos. But a different situation for them than Winnipeg, certainly.
And Tafralis unable to hit Maurice Mann out of the backfield. It'll be 2nd and 10. So the Ticats will be 4 and 5 on the road.
And I don't know that Ticat fans should be too concerned about this game, though. I mean, you know, first of all, and this is not an excuse because you don't want to let down mentally, but they heard prior to kickoff or just as they were kicking off that Toronto had lost, which means their position in their home field was locked up. Coming off a 3-game win streak.
Tafralis hit as he let it go. He's going deep, wants Reggie Fish, and broke it up. Looked like Brandon Isaac may have knocked that ball away as Fish tried the over-the-shoulder catch.
You know, last week's game was crucial for Marcel Belfay's crew. I mean, for a couple of reasons. Gave them the position that they were in tonight, meaning that if Toronto lost or they won, they were clinching home field advantage tonight. And that happened before this game started. But more importantly, to beat Montreal the way they did a week ago, it's a team that they just couldn't beat.
Wilbur off the side of his foot, a rare miss kick by him. And That ball sailed out of bounds. It's an illegal kick, but Calgary will be happy to take that football on the Hamilton side of half. One of those nights when even the very reliable Eric Wilbur misfires.
Illegal punt out of bounds. Hamilton, number 11. A penalty is declined. First down.
Time for the TSN turning point.
That was the second quarter. 20-10 was the score, and Henry Burris found Romby Bryant for one of 3 touchdowns for the speedster at wide receiver. Calgary Stampeders have owned this game.
And look who's in at running back. Jesse Lumsden with his first carry as a Calgary Stampeder in the first carry in almost 2 seasons. And the fans who have remained here, a big cheer. We saw Lumsden on the sidelines practicing handoffs from Henry Burris, and he made the most of his first run. 11 yards. Jesse Lumsden's back.
And look at the smile. I mean, he's excited to touch that football again and try and get a feel for that tailback position once more. And Rob Cote right over there to congratulate him.
You know, even some Hamilton Ticat fans have to be delighted to see this. Dylan Parker with the tackle, testing that shoulder. Nothing wrong with that. And Dylan Parker, in fact, felt the effects as he got hit by the truck. So we saw Romby Bryant's touchdown with the TSN turning point, brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. And a nice turning point in the return of Jesse Lumsden to the Canadian Football League. And why not give him the ball again? And he'll pound it down to the 25.
You know, when you talk about Jesse Lumsden's injury situation, and I know this always sort of hangs over his head, but even when he went back and went through his NFL tryouts and bouncing back and forth in his time in Hamilton, he never really, in my estimation, gave his shoulder, his injuries long enough to heal. This time he has.
Going to get a steady diet here, and look at Jesse Lumsden, another first down run.
And I just wonder, Chris, if you know, when you're in the middle of it and you've got a shoulder, if you got a knee and you're trying to rehab them, but you're trying to get yourself back on the field. He goes to Edmonton. I think he even rushed it there a little bit in his rehab to try and get back, and it was early in that season that he got hit again. His shoulder popped out again. He had the same problems. This time he's given it a full year and more.
4th consecutive carry, and Jesse Lumsden, touchdown! Well, even in a game that has been decided for a long time,
Big for him.
That's a pretty special moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's big for him. A long way back for Jesse Lumsden.
And the rest of the league can be served notice. The Stamps have yet another weapon. Maver adds the extra point for the 3rd time this year. The Calgary Stampeders are over 50, and Jesse Lumsden embraced at the bench. 4 carries, 40 yards on the Lumsden touchdown drive.
That's when you see things like this, and his great acceleration, his ability. I think he just sort of outran his own legs there. He was so excited. But you know what? You see the great acceleration, the change of direction. He's got tremendous power.
Not sure that's the arrival he was looking for, but
hey, he got in.
He wanted that kind of celebration. What a nice moment. John Hufnagel a chance to, well, he said by the end of the year he hoped he'd get a chance to experiment a little more with Jesse Lumsden, and with this game well in hand, he got to put it in the hands of number 34 And you wonder if there are teams around the league now wondering if maybe they missed an opportunity. It's early, and it's a nice moment. But if he can continue to do that, there are going to be some teams kicking themselves for passing on number 34. Squib kick. Whoop, a bounce over Garrett McIntyre. And McDaniel up close to the 40-yard line with 70 seconds left here. 55-24 Calgary.
Well, you know, I know I talked to John Hufnagel about Lumsden, and he said realistically, you know, I'd love to give him a couple of opportunities if it presents itself sometime this year. Clearly, with the score in this game, it did. But he kept saying, but next year, man, we get him for a training camp. You know, he, John Cornish, Joffrey Reynolds, the combinations you could put out there are endless.
DeFralis finds Reggie Fish, and there's a first down for the Ticats up across the 50-yard line. Well, the combinations are endless. You just wonder how many footballs do they have at Calgary for all these guys.
That's why there's really not been, you know, you don't sense the concern when they'd only won 2 of their last 6. And I know there was a lot of fans and even people in the media wondering, like, is this team slipping at all? And they're trying to figure out exactly what was going on.
McDaniel pulls that down, and Torian Allen there to make the quick stop. Well, out of the 2 wins in 6, the big one was the win at Mosaic.
Yep.
Got them the tiebreaker, and before the Rough Riders' recent problems really became magnified, that pretty well secured first place.
Well, and think about the losses too.
Oop, DeFralis hit as he got that away. Justin Phillips was bearing down on him.
You think about, okay, so 2 wins in the last 6 for Calgary, but you think about the losses. Last week they had the drop, or they win that one. I mean, and I'm not trying to remind RJ Franklin's fans of that, but that happens. They win that game. Loss in Saskatchewan. Nick Lewis is coming across, and his knee completely gives out in the end zone, or they possibly win that one. BC game, not last week, but the previous BC game, no Nick Lewis in the lineup for that one.
Here's DeFralis on 3rd down, scrambling, chased, shovels it off, and Thigpen tossed down. Does he have enough for the first down? Right about the first down stick. Malik Jackson, the tackle. And it looks like Hamilton's got enough for another series. Or will it require a measurement as it's getting surveyed by Kim Murphy? And Malik Jackson slow to get up.
Now talk about, you know, fans wondering about their team and whether or not they're slipping at the wrong time. I mean, we've seen this year. I mean, about half the games this year have been within a touchdown to decide it. And then the other half have been lopsided.
Look at that. It's kind of night Hamilton's had. They're short by a chain link, and it's a turnover on downs. Wow. But you're right, it has been an unusual year. We either have frantic finishes or blowouts, and it's a blowout that I'm not sure anybody anticipated here tonight. But a turnover on downs will let Calgary come out and run it off the clock. I thought you were going to mention Saskatchewan when you mentioned teams that have struggled in recent weeks, because apparently there has been quite a bit of discussion in the province about their 3 consecutive losses. Very interested to see how the Edmonton, Winnipeg, BC, Saskatchewan games play out this weekend.
The prairie sky has been falling of late, yes. But, you know, when I talk about Hufnagel's sort of not lack of concern, I mean, he's on the details, you know that, but just when people have sort of said 2 of the last 6. I mean, are we as good as an 11-win team, now a 12-win team? And he's, you know, don't worry, we're there. And I think he's got great confidence in this team. We've talked about all their weapons, good on the offensive line. They'll get Edwin Harrison back for the playoffs and for the Western Final. A defense that has been dominant all year. I know they've given up some points of late, but they shore that up again tonight. So, good football team. Reminds me a little of the 08 team, maybe a better team than that in the talent department.
Well, if they had not already done it, they've served notice again. They're the team to beat in the West, and maybe in the Canadian Football League in 2010. John Hufnagel's crew cruising to a convincing 55-24 victory over Marcel Belfay's Tiger Cats, who now dropped to 9-8. Ticats, though, know they'll be hosting the Eastern semifinal after that loss by the Argonauts earlier tonight. Boy, what an offensive show. And it was wrapped up with a Jesse Lumpston touchdown here as Calgary cruises to a 55-24 win at McMahon. So long from Calgary. SportsCenter is next.